Good evening and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. I'm your host, Ginny Gardner. And tonight, before we start, a couple of things. I want to wish a happy birthday to the crew director, the set director, the man in charge of wardrobe and hair, George Gardner. So happy birthday. The second thing is, as always, Emily's bracelets. As you all know, Emily has cerebral palsy, and all her proceeds from these bracelets go to the Special Olympics. So Emily's bracelets, look her up. She's on Facebook, and buy a bracelet or two. My guest this evening is Todd Sacco, star of Winthrop Votes Live. But drum rolls, woohoo!
Star. That's a stretch.
So
that's a stretch.
How did you get to Winthrop Votes Live? How did you get? We have the Facebook page. How did that start?
So that's a good story, but before I go there, I don't know what I just got myself into because the music starting. Am I on The View? Is this like a shell company for The View?
Not at all. No.
Thank God.
I do ask you to fasten your seatbelt because if anything goes. So.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole premise of Winthrop Votes was really to provide transparency in town government because there was an issue that came up, and many actually say I made an issue out of it, and I really didn't make an issue out of it.
What was the issue?
So the town council president the town council president at the time, Phil Boncory, wanted to allow the pride flag to fly over town hall.
Okay.
Now there was a previous unwritten, in all fairness, it was an unwritten, unvoted upon rule, but by the rules of our charter, the town manager had say. And at the time, the town manager said, no, you can only fly Massachusetts, United States, POW, okay?
Yeah.
The town council president at the time took it upon himself to go around it and give the okay. So to make a point, I requested the Gadsden flag fly for 4th of July.
Yeah.
The Gadsden flag, for those who don't know, is the flag with the snake on it. Don't tread on me. It's affiliated with it started with the Boston Tea Party. And the Navy and the Marines are all kind of formed around that.
So wait, you asked them to fly that. Okay.
For our independence.
Right.
He said no, and it's a racist flag, and it became a whole thing.
Wow.
And so I started Winthrop Votes with my friend Scott McLean, and really, and it's interesting because what we do there, like we're probably going to talk about this, I imagine. I'm a conservative guy, but, and this might help guide some of this conversation, Winthrop is not all conservatives, and I understand the value of listening to other people. And that was really the point of Winthrop Votes, where people from all walks could talk.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I've owned this, I own who I am. Sometimes I lose my temper. I get it. It can be intimidating at times. I get it. But
excuse me 1 minute. Does that mean?
Did I get my Italian up?
Get your Italian up?
Apparently apparently we'll talk about that too.
Okay. Just have to ask.
Italians get their anger up, right? That's if you right. I am Italian though, so can I say that?
Yes, you can. And quote it.
And quote it, right? And then it makes it okay.
So yours was a gay pride flag. So did they take it down?
Nope.
They didn't. They lifted it up.
Nope. They left it up.
I have to cut in for 1 minute because here in Newton, we had what was called the Thin Red Line flag, and it was at the fire station. And someone complained that it was offensive. And with Newton's history of firefighters, which we had that Stark fire way back when, you're probably a kid, where about 10 or 11 firefighters, one was severely injured, and the rest were somewhat, but they could never go back to work. They were disfigured, Ray McNamara. So out of respect, really, for Ray and the rest of the firefighters, we put up the thin red flag, and it was demanded it be taken down, and it was taken down.
Well, interestingly, that happened in Winthrop too with the thin blue line flag.
Oh, really?
So that's really where the whole ordinance or town manager rule to stop any other flags from flying came from. He was trying, to his credit, even though he was a wildly progressive guy,
Yeah.
to his credit, he made the right call and said, that's it,
Yeah.
neutral flags only.
Right.
Phil Boncory's political motivation was to protect his son Joey, who was the state rep at the time, the state senator that seat's held by Lydia Edwards.
Okay.
So it was all political. He was just using his position in Winthrop to work to that woke crowd, but he has unleashed the Kraken, because now they've got all this power. They're writing letters to the town to the newspaper about Texas bills that have nothing to do with Winthrop. The LGBTQ,
yeah.
don't say gay bills. I mean, it's actually wild.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
wild.
It is, and you know what I guess I resent the most about it is when they get into that really craziness, is our city councilors, aldermen, they used to be aldermen, but now they're city councilors, selectmen, whatever. Truthfully, their job is not to legislate. They're in charge of our streets, the police department, the fire department, are doing contracts, trash, keeping the water clean. They're not there to legislate, and they do. They'll waste an entire meeting to say, we just want to speak out against the climate change, and we just want to go on record as being, we need to cut back on our carbon footprint. Quite frankly, I don't care. I don't care. Do what you're supposed to do. Fix the streets.
So we have that problem too. In fact, one of our counselors, this is so funny that it's so similar, but not surprising to me, because I have this whole hypothesis about how I don't call them progressives anymore, they're Marxists.
They're communists, yeah.
They're not progressives. Progressives like good change. They don't like change. They like their agenda. But we have a counselor that was first after January 6th. She wanted to. She actually forced the committee to vote on by getting the motion up there on a non-binding resolution, ensuring the local citizens that are voting would be protected from January 6th events. And she made this big speech about January 6th. What does that have to do with Winthrop?
Oh my God.
Well, now she wants to do it again relative to the Don't Say Gay bill and the Florida bills and all the different states that are trying to pass what they're calling anti-trans bills. Mind you, none of them have picked up the bill to read the dang thing.
Yeah.
I mean, none of them, because they won't, or if they have, they just won't answer a question about it because they know that the answer will reveal the insanity of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's
And you're right, the progressives are Marxists. And I'm not talking, and I don't know about you, but for me, I'm not talking about the Democrats. There are many Democrats that I'm helping, and one is Peter Katushin. I like what he does. He's working on the autism awareness. I like what he does. So I like the candidate, and not all Democrats are crazy. It's that extreme part of the left.
Well, it does come down to, though, I will say this, so in defense of everybody here, just something to chew on. Everybody has degrees of what they view as extreme.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a very simple guy. It's true. I'm truly live and let live. Like, I don't care personally what someone's lifestyle choice is.
Right.
What I care about is if their lifestyle choice is being used as a political weapon, which in this case it is. What I'm concerned about is the fact that there are people out there that want to allow a third grade teacher to have a conversation with a child about their genitals, hormone blockers, affirmation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And by the way, all those bills are saying is, no, just the professionals, not teachers, because I'm sorry, as lovely as some, and I'm not ever going to say all teachers are, because we could talk about that too, as lovely as some of these teachers are, they're not professionals in that area. It's inappropriate,
Right,
it's not right, it's wrong on every level, and it doesn't mean I don't support those children who might be going through that struggle.
Right.
Anywho, little tangent there for
Well,
you.
I was going to ask you about that actually, because I have grandchildren, and I worked with young kids for 40 years. That was I did a preschool, and I started to think about them. And when you sit in front of little 5-year-old kids, and you just start talking about that, you're robbing them of their childhood. They don't care. They don't understand. They don't really care. And you end up putting all these these thoughts in their head that don't need to be there yet. They just don't. And they can be very easily swayed. I remember one day I was teaching, and I remember saying, "What did you have for breakfast?" We had about 6 kids in a circle. "What did you have for breakfast?" "I had waffles today." And then the next little guy, "What did you have?" "I had waffles." By the time they all had waffles, and they didn't. But they can be that sounded good. That I'm going to say that. And by the end, they really thought they had waffles. And you're talking about putting these thoughts in little kids, and they're not ready. They're nowhere near ready. And I don't know what the answer to that is, except stop teaching it. Please teach reading, writing, arithmetic, science. Stick to what you're supposed to do. Stick to your job description.
Stick to the curriculum. Absolutely.
If I wanted my kids to learn that, and by the way, when my kids went to high school, I have to say this, and you know my daughter now. She was a sophomore in high school, and Newton North wanted her to take this class, and they all did. And she came home and said, "Mom, I have to go to the drugstore, and I'm not going, and buy a condom. We have to learn how to put a condom on a piece of fruit." That's all I'm going to say. I said, "No, oh no, you're not. And I'll write a letter saying it's against our religious beliefs that you're going to learn how to do that." So I wrote a letter, and I said, "Hey, how'd it go?" And she said, 3 of my friends lined up behind me and said, "I'm exactly what she's writing and handing you." So they got out of it. But you know what? I don't even think you can do that. Could you do that for your child? Could you write a letter and say, take him out, take her out?
I don't know, because to be honest with you, I didn't pay attention to it because my wife handled it. But I will say, I knew that was an issue, a potential issue. I understand on that one, I'm a little bit on the fence, because I understand that there are children who don't have good homes, and they really should prevent disease in pregnancy because they're not fit to be parents yet. They haven't lived any life. I kind of get that.
Yeah.
That one's a bit of a slippery slope. That was a really hard one for me.
Yeah.
And so we take preemptive strikes. I mean, 15 years ago, I laid down a marker on the public schools and the teachers union, because I knew. I knew. And I said, the teachers union is being infiltrated by people who intend to do harm to students.
Yeah.
And while I was a kid, I can tell you a story. When I was a young kid, we had the no clue whether or not he was ever caught or was convicted of anything, but he used to come into the little boys' room on our boys' room break. Well, he's standing here while he's talking to us. Now, back then, we thought nothing of it. Years later, me and my friends are going, "Do you remember that? Was that wrong?" And now I'm fine. I'm completely fine, adjusted for that. But oddly, I reconnected with a first grader friend who I never saw after 6th grade, 7th grade. I reconnected with him recently. He's actually contemplating coming on Winthrop Votes to share his story, because that happened to him, and then it got worse. So because I've been playing the angle, not playing the angle. That's not right. Pedophiles and groomers use the weakness of a child to their advantage, whether it's their weight, sexual orientation, whatever it is, they prey. And certainly this transgender issue is now a newer angle.
Yeah.
But this has been going on for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And now the progressive movement knows. You ever heard of the phrase "useful idiots"?
Yeah.
What is it, Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals?
Oh, yeah.
I encourage everybody to read that book. Take a lot of it with a grain of salt, but understand that there are people like in high places that know that all this legislation is actually good, but they don't care. Let the useful idiots, as they call them, do the dirty work. And the ones down below, I'm not sure if all these teachers who want to talk to their kids about this, it's one of 3 things. It's malicious intent. It's they're just not smart, or that's willful ignorance.
Yeah.
It's like what else can it be?
Or they want the job, they have to keep the job. I don't know. I know here in Newton, back, I want to say 20 years maybe now, we had Father Shanley. And we were the pedophile priest. And my husband and I spent many Sundays picketing on Cardinal Law on Lake Street.
Yes.
With signs saying, put Law in jail. And he was able to go to Rome and have a beautiful little chapel where he lived out his life, and that disgusts me. So you know what? When people talk about that and say, well, think of that and the lives he destroyed. But I want to talk about too. Let me ask you this. You started your Facebook Live.
Yep.
So how it's with your buddy Scott, who lives in Florida, right?
Scott McLean.
He grew up in
Winthrop. Yes. So interesting story. Scott McLean graduated with my older brother. Scott didn't know me, but I knew him because I knew all my older brother's friends, especially the ones that were at my young age. A guy like Scott, who he was at that time, was extremely interesting to me.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Scott is I'll let Scott tell a story when he's ready to tell a story, but in a nutshell, Scott's life has transformed completely. He's not a completely different person, but he's different in the sense that his interests are a bit different. He's a much calmer person now than he used to be. Served in the Air Force.
Yep.
Anyway, I remembered him. He started doing a couple of things on Facebook. He does the King of Facebook show, and that's what I started watching. And then we would argue back and forth over Florida because he would always be busting chops about how nice it is down there, and I would say it's too hot and humid. We would have fights about Florida, and then we started agreeing on stuff, and then from there, and then when he started doing the podcast, I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing something, and that's, I don't know what the idea is yet, I said, but I'm thinking about making this a hobby for when I retire. I'm starting to think about my retirement, and lo and behold, this all just came together. I mean, look, it doesn't make money, it only costs money, it's really, and it's Winthrop, it's small, I'm transparent about everything. I think I have reached the 420 actual registered members. Last 28 days, though, we've had about 7,000 views.
I bet.
It's been up there. I mean, a lot of thanks to you. A lot of your people were on there. And
well, let me ask you this: would you like to talk about Miss Barbara Flockhart?
Yeah, I would.
What is it? March 31st.
Is that the date?
Yep, March 31st.
Wow, you remember the date.
I remember the date.
Wait, was that the date of the meeting or the date of the interview where she went Italian incident?
I think that's when she decided to say to one of the 3 male candidates, which they had a problem with as well, who all happened to be of Italian heritage, I believe. But this particular one that we saw, she had gone out soliciting, which can they do this? Do they do this? She actually went and talked to people this person worked with, and just on her own decided, let's go talk to people that worked with him and know him. And I mean, I'm not sure that's part of the interview process or if that comes after. But anyhow, she took it upon herself. Is she chair of that committee by any chance?
No.
No. So she just decided.
She's not even on that. She was so in a search committee. The town council appoints a search committee. Now, the search committee, all committees are appointed by the council president.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, though, the council gets to vote on it, but they're all appointed by the council president. She was not on there. It was actually a really great search committee, as far as I'm concerned. It all started because one of the people in town asked a question on, well, that's not where it all started. But
In Winthrop votes?
no, they asked a question on one of this woman, Julie Waller's pages
Okay.
that she blocks people out of, that you can't go if you're conservative or a Trump supporter. But it's open conversation, yeah.
Of course it is.
Anyway, someone asked a question about what, no women or something, and then Julia responded, all Italian, no, just Italian men, and who knows. But that's kind of how the kerfuffle got going, and then people started watching the interview. And you're right, I don't know what the process is in terms of going out and interviewing. I mean, she is responsible to vote on the candidate. But the part that's frightening to me is that this is a woman, and by the way, she's actually tied to the flag incident.
Oh, really?
Because she sat on the Rules and Ordinances Committee, And so the town manager advised the town council president at the time, because I was raising a stink, send it to rules and ordinances so we can get an actual something in place.
Yeah.
And I went to the meeting. I had my Gadsden hat, so it had the it was black and red with the snake, and it said DOTM or DTOM, don't tread on me, right? And that basically, I'm going to paraphrase. I don't want to tell you the whole meeting because it was kind of boring, but she looked at me and she said, "That hat is racist." You know, implying that I'm a racist.
Right, yes.
So she obviously has biases, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go so far as to say she's a hateful person. I don't know her well enough to say that. But she clearly has a bias.
Yeah.
She even said, I don't know if it was during that night or not, I forget the chronology, but she even said she was worried about the anger and the yelling. And that's why she made that statement. And her apology was weak because she blamed the word she chose, the person she quoted. I was quoting a person. Like, quoting it makes it okay?
I hear lots of things that are horribly, or swears that I don't say he said, quote.
Yeah.
That's
the double standard, because she's one that rails against hate. She was in favor, she voted for that resolution that Tracy brought up regarding January 6th.
Yep.
And she was in favor of having this latest resolution signaling to our LGBTQ community members that we're here for them. All this signaling. Can we how about we do something?
I want to talk just really quickly about the resolution, and here's why they had no right to do it. Because, does this sound like Venezuela to you?
No.
Anyone that was arrested on January 6th, they were in jail. They have been in jail. Some of them still are. For over a year, they've been charged with nothing. So they're in jail.
With
Some
no
of
charges.
them are, without any charges. In the United States of America, for trespassing. And by the way, we can argue if they were let in, if the door was open. We can argue all that. But they didn't have weapons. They were escorted through the door. From what we've seen, they were let in, and they were arrested, and they've been in jail for a year and a half, and one person committed suicide. So the fact
that guy was in solitary confinement for a while, too.
Yeah, he was.
And so was the shaman, the guy with the blue and red face.
Oh, was
Solitary
he?
confinement for trespassing.
Yeah. So that's what bothers me. But so what had happened was, and I took the quote, I have the exact quote. So they're talking to a candidate who made the final three, and this lady said, something that I heard from somebody that works closely with you, that person must be dying, by the way, you have a tendency to get to I have to do this, to quote, get your Italian up when you get passionate. Now I ask you this, would she have said that about, and I don't want to single out other groups, but I'm just going to say other groups, would she have said that about a female candidate that maybe is in her 30s, that could have times of the month that she gets edgy? Would she say to them, ma'am, I'm so sorry, but at that time of the month, do you have a tendency to be overly cranky? And, does that interfere with your job? How absolutely insulting. My theory on this is when they decided to demonize Christopher Columbus, they demonized every Italian man. Don't get me started on this.
All right, I won't.
Go ahead. So now you go ahead, because I was really angry about this.
Does that
so
mean,
go ahead, yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Oh, we're almost over.
So you know what? Yeah. So tell me what you think, and you're talking about it on Winthrop Speaks.
Votes.
I'm sorry, Winthrop's Votes.
Facebook,
Let me say it again.
Yep, Facebook live stream.
But you have to ask to be invited in. Is that it?
No, it's open. Winthrop Votes on
okay.
Facebook. We'd like you to join so we could show numbers and maybe someday monetize it a little so we can, sometimes we have to do FOIA requests that might cost a couple bucks. That comes out of our own pocket, all my equipment. But again, this was a thing for me because really this is a thing for me for Winthrop. Winthrop is changing. And I can accept that to a degree, right? But it's gone from a place where the whole community, even when we had political differences, the whole community still could get together. But now there's a clear line and there's a clear lack of listening from a very small but loud segment of the population. Like they don't listen, they don't communicate, they don't with us. They refuse to. They refuse to engage in any conversation or answer questions. And They make false accusations, you know. And you know, but getting back to the whole Barbara Flockhart thing, the biggest disappointment for me is that same council when Tracy Honan stood up and talked about her January 6th resolution. She was talking about we need to show the community that we have zero tolerance for hatred of any kind, discrimination of any kind. We now have a town that accepts discrimination against Italians because that council was dead silent. They were dead silent on that issue.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Here in Newton, it was passed, and we asked that I don't think they gave us enough notice. But anyway, we all got on the Zoom call, which I hate because you can't put your hand up; they won't acknowledge you.
Right.
But we actually heard a city councilor say when we tried to express why we wanted Columbus Day, you people need to get over this. You people need to
You
get over
Italians, you white people, what did they mean?
Yeah.
Right? And by the way, maybe they didn't mean anything by it, but certainly I'd like to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, I could accept an apology from Barbara Flockhart if I got a chance to talk to her about why it is she associated Italian with anger and why aren't you resigning? Don't you think that's fair? Don't you think you know what I mean? Like, if she was truly sorry, she should have been embarrassed and ashamed and skulked away in the dark of night.
Yeah.
But none of those things happened.
Yeah, I felt, I don't think I can judge if she was sincere or not. That's not for me to decide. But I do think that the board should have, at the very least, issued an apology to the town of Winthrop for what she said. You know, if she made a mistake, clearly she made a mistake. But you know what we do when we make mistakes? We admit it. And we say we're sorry. We own it. Exactly right. Exactly right. I just want to say this. So it's Winthrop Votes. It's on Facebook. You can see yourself and Scott live. It is fun. It really is.
And all the shows are saved. We got them pinned to the top. You can go to our YouTube page too. It's Winthrop Votes on YouTube. Every episode, we've had our 36th episode.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
You're on at 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock every Monday night.
Every Monday, okay.
And it might be boring for other people. It might be good.
It's not, because I watched it. It was really fun. But you know, we talked about this right before the show, and I said I had three questions kind of rolled into one.
Okay.
How do you feel? Do you still have faith and a belief in local government?
I do believe the structure is there. And in fact, that's what Winthrop Votes is all about, is like all politics is local.
Yes.
Right? If we can, in all honesty, and we don't have time for this, but maybe another time.
Definitely.
If we can take back our schools away from the unions, our municipal budget's being destroyed by the school. Utterly destroyed, and so we're handcuffed. So,
State.
No, not at all. It's too influenced by the teachers union here in Massachusetts anyway.
Yeah, and it tends to, because they're all Democrat, we don't have a voice.
Yep.
Because you need both sides. All right, now federal.
Federal's an utter disaster.
Oh, gosh.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
It's a complete mess. And the president's really a figurehead, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's the Congress, and we need a complete, I can't use the word on your show, but you know
can't.
what. We need a washout. A washout. We'll wrap up.
Yep, wrap up. So you're going to come back, because we're not even, I've got like 3 pages here. You're going to come back, we'll get Scott on too, and keep up the battle.
Fight the battle.
All we're asking for is conversation, civil conversation, and a little bit of sympathy both ways. So join us again, and have a great week. Bye-bye. Happy birthday, Dee.